Hello, hello, everyone, and we are live once again from the SEO Mastery Summit. And this time around, we're joined by Noel Andrews once again from jobrec.eu. Welcome, Noel.
Hey, thanks, man. It's good to be here as ever.
Fantastic to see you as well. So, Noel, you spoke at the last summit, a great presentation. What have you guys been up to since the last summit?
We've been kind of weirdly for a hiring firm. We've been doing a lot of hiring for ourselves. So since the last summit, the team's doubled. So we're around, I think, 5 people then, and we're now 10. So lots of big hiring, bringing in full-time people. So brought in a full-time operations manager, helped me running the business and really kind of helping free up some of my time and do a better job of kind of our delivery. Full-time lead recruiter, full-time recruitment assistant. And some other kind of support and roles around kind of like social media and kind of marketing and that sort of thing. So yeah, it's been a busy few months.
Awesome. Today, you're going to talk a little bit about how to hire awesome remote talent from Eastern Europe, one of the places where we like to hire as well. So obviously many great places to hire around the world, but I love Eastern Europe and super excited to see what you have to share with us today. So I can see lots of people jumping in already. Again, guys, if you have questions, please feel free to ask them throughout the presentation. So Noel will go through his presentation first, and then I'll jump back and then I'll fire lots and lots of questions at him. So please ask questions throughout the presentation so you don't forget about it. And Noel will try and answer as much as he can towards the end. So awesome. Noel, are you ready to share all your wisdom?
Ready to go.
Fantastic. Go ahead.
Cool. Okay. Well, hey, everyone. So I'm going to chat to you through kind of how to hire awesome remote talent from Eastern Europe. But the tips apply to wherever in the world you're hiring from. Okay. So, kind of hold on tight. So a couple of quick points before we start. I do tend to speak quickly. I've tried to slow down, really doesn't work. So please listen fast. And Mads will make the recording available that you'll be able to get access to tomorrow. Number 2 is take what works for you. Okay, I'm going to cover a lot of content. It's going to be very, very actionable, kind of things that you can do to help you with your hiring. You can do all of it, or you can just take a little bit of it. That's completely okay, but take what works for you. And then finally, if as you kind of listen to this and as you kind of like look through the slides as we go through, if you're thinking, wow, hiring is hard, there's a lot to do here. You're completely right. Hiring is hard. But you don't have to do it yourself. There's people out there. I'm obviously one of them. I'll mention that at the end. But there is help that you can get. You don't have to do it all yourself. So a little bit about me. Why should you listen to me? So I'm the CEO and owner of JobRec. We have helped over 500 people hire from Eastern Europe for businesses just like yours. We do and have always done a lot in the SEO space. We do a lot with agencies, with e-com, with SaaS. But yeah, there's some huge talent in there in the kind of the SEO space. So I've done a lot in that this world. And I'm also growing my business by hiring from Eastern Europe myself. Like I just mentioned to Mads a moment ago, we've doubled our team in the last 3 or 4 months, and bringing in both full-time kind of assistant level people, but also very senior kind of operations and head of operations manager roles as well. So the real kind of full range of roles. And so I'm living and breathing, what it is that I'm going to take you through today. So not only do we do this for our clients and kind of help guide people, but we're doing it ourselves too. So, number 1 job of any business owner, okay, whether you're one person or whether you're 100 or 1,000, the number 1 job of any business owner or CEO is to hire great people. As soon as you get past being a kind of solopreneur, at some point you're going to hit a limit and you need to scale. So the number 1 thing you can do is to hire great people. But unless you went to, if you're anything like me, you didn't get taught how to hire, right? This wasn't a course at school or college or university, right? It's just not something that they teach. And even when we're in the kind of the business world, often it's not something that it's very easy to kind of get a handle on. So what a lot of us do is we kind of just fumble through it and we get slowly better over time and, learn a bunch of really, really hard lessons as we go. Very painful, very time consuming, and often very, very expensive. So if you're not sure about who or how to hire, what do you do? Well, that's why you're here, right? And that's why I'm here, because I'm going to show you and talk you through the why, the what, the how, and the how of hiring. Okay, I'm going to help you out. Like I said, all the information will be available to you tomorrow, and the recording will be there for you. And I'm always happy to kind of take any questions at the end or in a separate call to kind of help you out. I am really, really passionate about helping people hire really great people to help them grow their business. not just so that you can work more on other things, but that you can, scale your business and kind of get a little bit more freedom, kind of choice of what to do, whether that's working harder or whether that's spending more time with family, friends, doing fun things. So let's get in. So when we talk about hiring, okay, this isn't just about hiring any person that can come in and do the tasks. The thing that you're really hiring for is attitude. Attitude really is everything. When you're hiring people, you can get two people that can do the same technical skills, but if one of them's got kind of really passionate, is really energetic, really cares, and has this, the attitude that we're looking for, it makes a huge, huge difference. First off, kind of just a little brief story that's going to be really relevant to many of you on the session today. So I'd like to meet Marcus. So Marcus is CEO of a UK-based SEO agency called Searchant. It's a really, really successful business. And Marcus had built a team of doers. Okay, so he had a really, really good team spread across the world. He had link builders, he had content writers, he had a few other staff in the mix as well, but no one to help him lead and manage. So every day, all questions flowed uphill to Marcus, right? He was getting absolutely swamped. And he was working way, way too many hours every week. And I suspect this probably sounds familiar to many of you. And what he realized, that he wanted an account manager to take on all customer contact, okay, who could liaise with the customers, liaise with the clients, but it couldn't just be, a sweet talking account manager. It needed someone with really technical SEO skills as well, because they needed to be able to talk about the work that they were doing, about the results of the audits that they were doing of the client's kind of site and online presence. So they needed to have really strong technical SEO skills and have great customer interaction skills as well, to really be able to kind of take things off Marcus's plate and not causing more problems. Now, Marcus was still growing and is still growing. So, this hire needed to be affordable. And so we figured out that this is what he needed. He needed a technical SEO specialist and account manager. But what Marcus did realize is that there was one thing that he just didn't know how to do. How could he find this person with this skill set? Did they even exist? And how could he get the caliber of person that was really good, that he knew he needed to be able to put them in front of his customers without, panicking that, they'd offend or turn off his customers and that he'd lose business. And I took Marcus through everything that I'm about to show you. And the story has a happy ending, like all good stories. So let's jump in. So the why, the what, the how, and the how. So first of all, why should you be thinking about hiring, right? And this is actually the most important part of it, right? Thinking about why should you be hiring, because it then impacts on everything that you do from here on out. So a couple of the reasons that you might be thinking about hiring: if you want to grow your business, right? There is only so far for many and most businesses, especially in the SEO world, that you can grow kind of on your own. Yes, you can use services. Yes, you can use freelancers or team members, but sooner or later you've got to hire or get help. Okay, and that can take a number of different kind of formats. You might need to hire to improve the quality of delivery, right? If you have reached the capacity of you or your team and you keep taking on more customers, then the thing that's going to suffer is either the time and how long things take, or the quality. And either of those will tend to result in unhappy customers, and that's not good for business. You might want to hire or need to hire to be able to focus on the work that you enjoy. If a phrase that was mentioned to me recently is that if you don't have an assistant, you are the assistant. So if you're there doing kind of admin tasks, low-level stuff, sending invoices, chasing payments, social media posts, all these kind of things, and many, many more besides, right? You might not enjoy doing those things, but you might just feel that you have no choice. You have to do these things. So you might want to think about hiring to be able to focus on the work that you really enjoy, whether that's leading a team, whether that's getting deep in the tech of SEO, whatever it might be. You might need to gain access to skills that you don't currently have. It might be kind of higher end marketing skills. It might be deeper tech kind of SEO skills, like real specialist level stuff. It might be kind of finance, bookkeeping, an assistant, all kinds of things, or software development even. So you might need to gain access to skills that you don't currently have. It's another great reason to think about hiring. You might want to take low value tasks off your plate. Like I said about, getting an assistant, however you value your time, and whatever hourly rate you currently value your time at, it is almost certainly too low. You probably need to double it and double it again. And if it's anything less than a couple of $100 an hour, it's definitely too low. Okay, that's the kind of level at least you should be valuing your time at. And you can get some incredible people for less than $10 an hour. So that difference is huge. And finally, and probably one of the best reasons that you should think about hiring, is to work less. Okay, this is not about kind of freeing up time to work more. Sometimes we actually want to work less. There's a reasons we start and why we run our businesses. It's not all about kind of living to work. My top tip on this, and I'm going to give you a little top tip on every kind of on a kind of all the slides we go through in the stages, is figure out what you want from your business and from your life. Okay, just spend a little bit of time thinking, what is it that you really want, and that can then guide the reasons why you might hire, and then that leads on from there. So then we come into, well, what roles can you hire? Okay, so for a typical SEO business, and that's what I'm focused on here, but I help people in all kinds of different businesses, so there's all kinds of different roles. But for an SEO, at the low level, you might hire link builders, people to get out there, doing the outreach, getting links. You might hire analysts or specialists, so people that can kind of do the audits, make some of the various changes, kind of be using the tooling, identifying opportunities for your clients, and then really kind of deep diving in and actually making these changes and doing the work. Whether it's a low to mid-level analyst or a very senior specialist, these are some of the kind of key roles that we hire for many of the SEO agencies that work with us. Like I mentioned about Marcus, you might want or need to hire account managers, including people with technical SEO skills. That combination does exist, and they make a huge difference to the average SEO agency business. You might want content writers, right? Absolute classic role, and churn out really, really high quality content. Again, that quality is generally key. And we're seeing a big shift right now. We still do a lot of content writers, but often we're finding, clients coming to us looking for people to kind of do Harrow responses. So we do a lot in that space, finding people that can do short, punchy articles and responses to, help a reporter out requests. You might want help kind of growing the business from the marketing, the sales, the lead generation side of things. Or finally, you might want people to help you, a personal or an executive assistant to help kind of, free your time up and take work off your plate. So then, there's some of the roles that you can do, but how much will they cost? Can you afford to hire them? Well, this gives you kind of some ideas, right? So link builders can start, these are really good people with experience, can start from just $5 an hour. Analysts, again, really good people, $6 to $10 an hour. You can get into the kind of specialists, typically $10 to $20 an hour. It can go a little higher than that, maybe even up to kind of $30 an hour. And these are kind of rates from Eastern Europe, okay? And that's my focus, is Eastern Europe. Tons and tons of reasons why Eastern Europe's a great place to hire, and I'll touch on those as we go through. But value is one of them. They have a much, much lower cost of living in the countries that we focus on than the UK, USA, Australia, Canada, Western Europe, etc. And so, these people are getting paid really, really well. They're living a really good life, and the value kind of, they're happy, and then you kind of get to benefit from that value as well. You can get account managers, including those technical SEO skills, from kind of $2,000 a month full time. Okay, so that's kind of, what's that, about kind of $12, $13, $14 an hour, something like that. Again, very, very affordable, and kind of can make a huge difference to your business. Content writers, typically from around $30 per 1,000 words. When I hired my most recent content writer for JobRack, we had applications coming in, and the lowest was $20 per 1,000 words, and the highest was $200 per 1,000 words. And yet, interestingly, the quality did not follow the price. So that was really interesting. So I tend to advise from about $30 per 1,000 words, but the type of content you're looking for can make a really big difference here. You can get help with marketing, sales, lead gen, etc., from just $5 an hour for kind of lead gen and marketing. A little bit more for sales, but again, skilled people are out there for not a huge amount of money, and can often, be making their own money back very, very quickly. And then finally, people to help you, kind of a really good executive assistant, typically kind of $6 an hour, but you can start at $5 and again, get help that's going to kind of free a lot of your time up. And again, top tip on here, right? You don't even have to hire full time. So whilst a full-time link builder might be kind of $800 a month, full-time technical SEO account manager, $2,000 a month, you can hire part-time. A lot of the time the work can be done in just, kind of 3-4 hours a day. And that gives you somewhere to start. And some really great people out there that are really keen on part-time jobs, whether it's because they're doing a second or third degree, whether they're working it around another role, whatever it might be, or, around family life. You can leverage part-time roles and part-time hires to really, really kind of drive your business. So that's the kind of, why should you hire, and what should you hire, and kind of how much they should cost. So how do you actually hire them, right? That's kind of what we want to get into. And you'll hear me, you hear people talk about A players an awful lot, right? And the difference that it makes when you've got people that are standing out. And the key thing that you want is these people, like the smiley face in the middle of the screen here, right? You want the ones that are going to stand out, that are going to really make the difference. And as briefly here, you want people that are going to pull in the right direction. It's a little bit cliche, the picture here, but there's nothing more terrible and nothing more painful than having someone that's just not aligned, doesn't have the same energy, doesn't have the same kind of just attitude that, wants to make a difference and wants to grow with you and your business. So finding these people is really key. And, we refer to them often as ninjas, A players, rock stars, all of the kind of like the buzzwords in that sense. But how do you hire one? So these are the kind of like 6 or 7 steps I'm going to take you through. So first of all, you've got to figure out what you need. And you want to be thinking about, what are the outputs that you want them to deliver? So don't worry about, starting off writing a really long job description. Just start scribbling down some bullet points. What are the things that you want them to deliver? What's the kind of output that you want to do? What's the experience that you want them to have? Okay, what's really, really essential and what's like a nice to have? What kind of attitude do they need? What's right for you, your business, and your team? Is, do they need to be absolutely massively energetic and kind of gung-ho? Or do they need to be really, really methodical and kind of detail-oriented? What's really kind of right for you and your business? Are there any particular requirements around location, around hours, around skills? If you want them to actually go into your client sites and you're on the West Coast of the US, they're going to need to be in the West Coast of the US. That's pretty rare these days. All of the roles that we do are remote, but you might have that kind of requirement. Do you need them to be serving clients in a particular area of the world that involves synchronous communication, across Skype or Zoom or whatever it might be? The hours needs to work. And again, what skills do they need to come to the table already having, right? So if you need someone that's going to be really, really great at HRS, for instance, then, you need to make sure they have that skill already. It's important to think about what level of person do you want, kind of the seniority. Are you looking for someone to do things? Are you looking for someone to think? Or are you looking for someone to lead? And you can get a combination of those things, but you can't be paying low level kind of doer salary for someone that you want to kind of strategize and really lead a portion of the business forwards. So that's something to bear in mind. And you're not looking to figure out what you need right now. You've got to be thinking about the future, at least 6 months into the future, ideally further. But it's going to take you time to hire. So it's really, really important that you think and make sure you get the right person for what you need, a little way in the future, not just right now. And again, top tip on this one, figure this out before you start to hire, right? If you don't take the time, if you jump into hiring before you figure this stuff out, it's going to be painful. It's going to cost you time and it may well cost you money as well. So again, and this can be just 5 minutes. You can scribble this down on a piece of note paper, just kind of think these things through. What is it you want to do? It then helps the rest of the process flow really, really smoothly. So, step 2, you figured out, in step 1, figured out what you wanted. Now it's time to figure out what they want. So, naturally they want a fair salary. Okay. And so you might need to check and say, what is a fair salary for the region of the world you're looking to hire in or for the skills that you need? They want interesting work, right? That's really, really important. Very few people want to just sit and do, copying and pasting from a spreadsheet all day long, right? There are roles that have to include some of that, but, most people want kind of a bit of variety and some interesting work. It is important to remember that what you find really uninteresting, there are lots of people out there that will find it interesting. So kind of keep that in mind. They want opportunities to grow. Okay. So they want opportunities to kind of try different things, to learn different things, to, get an opportunity to grow their career and kind of be more and more useful and develop and kind of grow. So that's really important. They want a chance to learn and to do training. Okay. There are so many free resources out there these days. Okay. Does not even need to cost any money. I really strongly advise, give them 2 or 4 hours, maybe even a little bit more, but 2 to 4 hours is really great on like a weekly basis or fortnightly basis to learn and to train. You will get the benefits of that. Okay. So if they spend their time, really learning the tools you use within your business, really learning the industry or learning things that are on the fringes of it that could be an area of growth for you in the future, they're going to feel happier. You're going to get the benefit. I cannot emphasize enough the importance of, kind of giving people time for training and learning. And when you include this on a job post, on an advert, this really sets you apart as well. Okay, and this is what people look for. They want the opportunity to work with great people. And finally, they want your magic. Okay, for a lot of job seekers that are looking for jobs with online remote businesses, they see the opportunity to work for small to medium-sized businesses like yours and like mine as a huge, huge win. They want to be close to people like us, to CEOs, to entrepreneurs, to business owners, and they kind of want our magic and exposure to it. So, don't kind of fail to realize that. It's really, really key. So figuring out what they want is really, really important. It's just as important as what you want. Okay, so definitely don't lose sight of this. So then step 3, you've got to figure out, where are they? Where are they in the world specifically? And, if you might have some requirements like we talked about things that you want that might impact on this, but are they, are they in the USA, the UK, in Australia? Do you need people in kind of Western aligned countries for some reason? Do you have specific language requirements that you need, that then dictate specific countries? Are they out in the Philippines, for instance? Tons of fantastic people in the Philippines, often at very, very low cost, that you can hire from. Are they in China? If there's things that you're doing in the Chinese market, then it's highly likely you're going to need to be hiring in China. Are they in Eastern Europe? Naturally, I'm a big fan of hiring in Eastern Europe. There is a huge amount of cultural alignment with the Western world. Time zones are very compatible. Value is great, and education is phenomenal. So it's a good place for many to hire. Might be the right place for you to hire. Or are they somewhere else? There's, again, great places: South Africa, India, South America, Mauritius, tons of places to be hiring really, really great people. So, these are the kind of things to think about. Do you have any particular requirements? If not, you kind of got a little bit more freedom, which is great. What's most important is that you look in the right place for the right people. Okay. So if you need someone that can work East Coast hours, right? Looking in the Philippines is tricky because it's going to be a night shift. If you want someone to be able, if you're in Australia and you want to be able to have a couple of hours crossover with people, then again, depending on what your waking hours and working hours are, you might have to look in Asia or the Philippines, for instance, to make that as easy as possible. So make sure you're looking in the right places for the right people for all of the requirements that you've got. Now, step 4, now we get into kind of the meat of it a little bit. You need to create a really great job advert. Your job description, your job post is a sales page, okay? And it needs to attract people to want to kind of apply for your role. So make sure these are some of the kind of key things to include, right? A summary about the business, right? Let them know who you are, what you're about. Tell them about the role and sell it. Remember, they might be really interested in things that you're not interested in or find really boring, okay? Especially when it's things you're looking to delegate and kind of remove from your plate. But really sell, what are they going to be doing? I like phrases, things along the lines of, if you've been working with us for the past few weeks, here's a selection of what you might have been working on. And in your first few weeks with us, this is what it will look like. And so you can bring it to life and tell a little story. You need to have a section about them. So kind of, summarizing, what it is about them that they're going to need to have in order to apply. Like I said, cover off what they'll be doing. Include something about the opportunities. How could they progress? How can they grow? What's going to happen with the business as it grows that means that they might get some more opportunity? What can they do in terms of salary, for instance, or training and development? So all of these kind of things, just bring it to life and just say, even if you're not exactly sure, but just say training and development and learning is really important. There's opportunities for growth and to get involved in all kinds of different things as the organization grows. Even a statement like that, as long as it's true, it's got to be true, will get the right people kind of interested. And make sure to include how to apply. Okay, that's super, super important. Make sure you tell them what you expect from them and how to apply to the role. So, and there's a template here. So if you head to later on, make a note of this, or like I said, we'll send the recording out, but jobrack.eu/jobs/1269. So that's the easiest way for me to do that for you. That is a relatively recent post for an SEO specialist, and that's got all of the, so this is one that we've worked on and we've helped our clients with. And so you'll see everything that we do to make really, really kind of great job adverts stand out. You don't have to go to that level. There's a whole ton of images and things like that in there, but bring it to life with the words is what's most important. So you've got your job post out there. You've chosen potentially where to place it, who you're advertising with. Then you're going to hopefully be getting some applications through. And this is the crucial bit. And this is the painful bit as well. This is where it's going to take time. It's going to take energy and it's going to take effort. And, and if you find that, if you think to yourself, no, that's not how you want to spend your time, I completely agree. There's people that you can get to help, and I'll briefly touch on that at the very end. So this is the stage when you've got applications coming through that you need to filter, test, and interview. So best thing I can suggest is always use an application form. So whether you use a Google form or a type form or similar, have a form with a series of questions that you ask. It makes them put some effort into the process of applying. You can filter them out with questions that test their knowledge. And we use really long form application forms for the roles that we handle. So make sure that we can see that people are putting in effort into the application process. So highly recommend that. That then lets you take their answers into a spreadsheet or a Google sheet that lets you then review them and filter them out. Kind of, have they got good enough English? Have they got the technical skills you want? Is their salary within the range that you're looking to offer? All of these kind of things you can filter and kind of whittle them down to a list that you can progress to the next stage. So that's where I typically kind of score them for each of the key categories, and then choose the best to proceed to either a screening interview, if you want to have a quick call with them first, or straight into a test. Now, I am a big fan of test tasks. I'm not a big fan of generic kind of online testing kind of tools. We use them from time to time for some things, but for most roles, you want to have a representative task that is kind of along the lines of the work that you want them to do for you, okay? This is something that we spend a lot of our time being very creative, understanding a role really clearly, and coming up with what are the right tests and the right ways to test candidates. This should typically take maybe between 1 to 2 or even kind of 3 to 4 hours in total. So you want them to commit a little bit of effort to it. And as a result, a lot of the time you may need to offer to pay them for their time in doing this, just so that they know you're serious and that you value their time. In the scheme of things, it's not going to be an awful lot of money, somewhere between maybe $5 and $20 an hour at the most. So, you're going to offer people maybe $30, $40, $50 or so at the outside to do the test for you. But this is going to give you a clear indication of how they work and also how they communicate with you through the process of doing the test. Do they ask any clarifying questions? How do they present the work they've done? All of that side of things. Once they've done the test, you want to review it thoroughly and carefully. And you're not looking for perfection, okay? They almost certainly won't have necessarily done it as well as you would have done it, okay? They don't have as much context. They don't know as much about your business. So it might be different. But what you're looking for is to say, well, how did they, what's kind of effort they put in? Have they understood the requirements? Have they gone along the right lines? Could I see this person working for me, working in this way? If they've done it completely wrong, then oftentimes that might be they just misunderstood the instructions. And if you're anything like me, you very frequently issue tasks out without clear enough instructions. And we work really hard at this now with our tests to make really, really clear instructions. But even if they've done it wrong, if you look at them and you think, actually, this seems like a really good person, then it can be, a very good discussion point for the interview to actually chat that through with them. Okay, so, always be careful. If they've done it like quite wrong, then maybe they're not a good fit. But if they've done it completely wrong, then often that's just a sign of misunderstanding, and often kind of the instructions weren't clear enough in the first place. So you've reviewed the tests. You're now getting down to hopefully the final kind of maybe 2 or 3 candidates. This is where you want to go into an interview. If you can, interview with someone else. So if you've got some team in place, interview with someone on your team. If you haven't, maybe ask kind of another business owner and kind of do them a favor in the future by doing the same for them. But having someone else with you can be a really, really big help. It's not always possible though. So the best thing I can advise around interviews is prepare in advance, be thinking about the kind of questions that you want to answer, and don't try and be writing down everything that they say. Ideally record the call, because then you can relax and focus on what they're saying, making kind of just a couple of little notes as you go along, maybe scoring some of their answers, and you can always review it again later. But really concentrating on what they're saying is super, super important, because you can pay attention to body language, how they're coming across, their energy. Really, this is all about you kind of building trust and getting to know them as much as it is their kind of technical skills. So then finally, as we get towards the end of the process, you've interviewed, you've hopefully found the one that you want to make an offer to. You're going to kind of make an offer, and then you're going to kind of collect references and checks from them. So that's where, you would make an offer subject to references. They'd give you a couple of references or people that you can contact, and you drop them an email kind of just saying, look, I'm thinking about offering this person a role. This is the role. Could they give their thoughts and kind of suggestions on what, how capable they think they'd be in the role and what their experience of working with them was like? So a lot in there, and there's a lot to do. And the key thing with this is do not rush this stage, right? This should take you at least 2 weeks from start to finish. Any quicker, and it's likely you're rushing it, okay? Because this is, if you're assuming you're hiring a long-term team member, and even at the lowest level, even at, $800 a month, you're spending $10,000 on this person over the next year. And if it's a more senior level role, whether it's a account manager, a specialist, an analyst, etc., maybe it's $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a year. And you wouldn't go out and, pay $50,000 for a new car or buy a house, etc., which is probably more than 50K, without some serious thought. And yet all the time I see people kind of trying to rush the hiring process without really thinking about it as a 5-figure decision. So that's super, super important. So like I said, we're at this kind of choose an offer stage. It's really important to trust your gut instinct. All throughout the hiring process, you've been looking for kind of micro signals that give you a good feeling about a candidate. Are they putting enough effort into the application process? Does it feel like they've got a good understanding and not just surface level? Really, really kind of trust your gut instinct on the candidates. Consider your offer before making it to them. What's important to them, and if you can tailor your offer to kind of make them feel really good and feel really valued, then that's a really, really, really big win. When you're ready to make the offer, speak to them to offer the role. I'm a really big fan of this. Yes, you can do it on email, but actually it's really nice if you speak to them on a quick call and emphasize why you're making them the offer. Okay, why have you chosen them? What was it that you liked about them that has resulted in you making them the offer? Give them the opportunity to ask questions and discuss what the startup plan is going to look like. So when can they start? What are kind of things that are important to them, methods of payment, frequency of payment, all of these kind of things. Just talk about this really, really openly, and then you're off to a good start. Finally, prepare and share contracts and then any kind of ways of working documents you have. So it's really important to have a contract and an agreement in place. Typically, this will be a service agreement. Most remote remote people that you hire are going to be working for themselves as an independent contractor or 1099 contractor, as it's known in the US. And so you'll have a service agreement in place. They will invoice you each month. They're responsible for their own tax and social security, but still it has an agreement. You have an agreement in place just to set kind of clear expectations between you. And then a ways of working document, this in JobRack is a 2-page document. It's got some really simple stuff there, just about how we like people to work. So, when you start work, whether it's the afternoon or the morning, just come and say, hey, on Slack and check in. When you finish work, say, hey, I'm heading off now. I'll see you later. Share what they're working on, share what's going on, how we like to work with Google Docs, which are the communication tools we use, we don't assign tasks in Slack, and say, hey, so-and-so, could you do something for me? We do that in Asana because that's our project management and task tracking tool. So these are kind of often the informal things that often aren't written down. And we find having them in a ways of working document is really, really helpful. And like I said, when it comes to making the offer, if you can, figure out what's important to them. Would they really like an extra couple of days paid holiday a year? Is actually, a little bit more money really, really important to them? And so I often ask them, I will ask and say, what is your salary expectation? You originally wrote down X, was that the bare minimum? Was that you punching above what you thought you'd get? Is that about right? How do you feel? And I will normally try and offer a little bit above what they really wanted, if I can. If I think they're really, really good, which, if I don't think they're really, really good, then we shouldn't be hiring them, right? So you always want to basically try and make them feel really good. So congratulations. At this stage, you've hired your very own A player. You've followed the steps. It's been a lot of hard work, but well done, you're there. But how do you keep them? Okay, because actually hiring them is only part of the challenge, right? Now you've actually got to keep them and make them happy. So step 7 in the 6-step process is keeping your A player, okay? And this is where you can really make a difference. So invest time in their onboarding. Make sure to set aside time to really be bringing them up to speed on the business and the company, explaining what it is you want them to do, giving them time to ask questions, and really invest time and prepare for them. So, on their first day, make sure they've got their email account, their systems access ready. Okay, so give this some good time. Set clear expectations with them and discuss often. When I've got a new starter, I will normally spend some time with them every day for the first few weeks. It might be an hour on the first day, an hour on the second and third days, and then slowly reducing down, but with regular check-ins. And I also make sure that they have time to kind of speak with each member of the team. There's 10 of us, so it's perfectly possible to have 15 minutes with everyone, getting an understanding of the team that they're working with, much like they would if we were actually in a physical office together. Okay, so set clear expectations and discuss often, and give them time with the team. Allow mistakes. Okay, and this is a bit of a weird one, right? Because no one wants mistakes. You don't want a fear culture where people are terrified to make mistakes because they'll be overly cautious and often they'll make more mistakes. So make it clear about what you want to do if they make a mistake. Own up to it, manage it, and tell them what they're doing to stop it ever happening again. Okay, that's really, really key. Give autonomy wherever possible. Super, super important. Okay, you don't want to be just doing kind of level 1 of the 6 levels of delegation where you're actually being super prescriptive about everything you want done. As soon as possible and wherever possible, ask them to deliver the outcome and maybe give them some guidelines, not tell them exactly how to do every little thing. Finally, 2 things: be interested in them. Okay, we're all real people. We're all pretty interesting, and so be interested in them. Get to kind of know them. And learn what they're about and what they're interested in. And I find kind of getting people to chat about what they're doing this weekend, what they did last weekend, what they're doing in the evenings, what's important to them and they're kind of for their future. Super, super important to get, really, really good people to kind of grow and kind of commit to you and your business. And finally, listen to them. When you're on one-to-ones with them, when you're on calls, turn Slack off, turn WhatsApp off, put the phone down, just concentrate on them. Okay. Like I said, the most important job of any CEO is to hire good people. Then you want to keep them. And so listening to them and hearing what they say is absolutely key. And like I said, requires constant communication, which is often the hardest part, but it really, really is worth it because the gains that you can get when you've got a team behind you are absolutely huge. So does it sound hard? And if you're shaking your head going, no, this sounds easy, then, hey, you're a ninja, you should be sitting in my seat, okay? Because this is hard. Hiring is hard, without any doubt in the world. And, coming back to Marcus, right? Marcus knew his strengths. And I did teach him that everything that I've kind of gone through here, I took him all through it. And at the end of it, he was like, no, that's great. I really, really appreciate you taking me through it. This is not my strength, right? And I want a really, really great hire. I want a really great person. And a rock star was actually the word that Marcus used. And he knew that if he tried to do this himself, he was already maxed. He would spend months trying to do it himself, and it would distract him from the day-to-day business, which was the whole point that he didn't want. And that was when he said to me, he's like, can you do it for me? And that's what we ended up doing. And at the time, Marcus was our very first customer of what we now call our Done With You service, where we actually took on all of the hard work of the hiring process, kind of acting as like Sherpas, right? You're climbing a mountain. We acted as the Sherpas, carrying all the heavy load, and the mountain guide kind of directing us and guiding us all along the way. And as Marcus kind of phrased it when we were chatting a short while ago, his customers seek expert help from him to do SEO and to do link building, to do all kinds of other things. And so why would he not do that for something that he's not comfortable, confident in, like hiring? The result, like I said, had a happy ending. We found and we hired Marcus, an amazing guy from Eastern Europe. It enabled him to step back from all customer interaction, which has had a huge, huge difference to his day-to-day life and the business. And the guy that we hired, or that he hired, that we found, he identified improvements to save over $3,000 a month on his third day. And just to be clear, Marcus didn't have some crazy business that was hemorrhaging money all over the place. It was a well-run business, but he still found some optimizations that would make a huge saving. And, how would you feel? You kind of employ someone that basically saves their salary or more than their salary per month on their third day. So that was huge. Marcus's top tip, and this comes from Marcus himself, is, know your strengths, right? If hiring is not a strength and you don't have the time, get help to find the best candidates. So we're coming up to kind of towards the end. We've got plenty of time for Q&A, but I'm just going to take a very, very quick minute. If you're thinking there that you want help to hire an awesome team member, okay, hiring is a task that you can outsource. Whether it's writing a really great job advert, advertising and actually going out and hunting for the very top candidates. We call it sourcing or active sourcing, because often the best candidates just aren't hanging out on job boards waiting for your job post to appear. You can get help to filter and review the candidates, filtering out all the people that don't match, that just haven't got the skills, that aren't the right fit, that haven't got good enough English. All this can be done for you. You can have the screening interviews done. So really actually speaking to the candidates, making sure that they're a good fit, okay, whether that's reviewing videos or actually speaking to them. And here at JobRack, with our Done With You service, we are speaking to every single candidate that we put forwards, because until you've spoken to people, sometimes you really just don't know. Handling the testing, and then, like I said, being that mountain guide and guiding you on how to interview, how to offer, how to collect references, what kind of agreements to use, and even through into onboarding as well. This is a task you can outsource, whether through me, through JobRack, through lots of other organizations. You can get help with this. It takes 40 to 60 hours as a minimum to make a great hire. So it's really, really important that you ask yourself, do you have the time and the energy to do this yourself? And as we like to say, right, so here at JobRack, we do all the hard work, so you don't have to. We find the best candidates for you. We handle all the hard work, saving you that time, energy, and money. And, I've recruited and I've built an expert team that ensures you get the quality hire you need. And so we save you time, we save you energy, and we save you money. But hiring is never guaranteed. There's always risk, right? Well, we've taken that away as well. So we guarantee success. We guarantee we're going to get you a hire for your role that you're going to be absolutely thrilled with. And we even guarantee they're going to stay for the long term, because that's often a bit of a risk with hiring as well. Well, what happens if they leave after a few weeks or a month or two? We guarantee that too. So we kind of take that kind of, all in hand for you. The Done With You service, it's not crazy expensive. You may have heard recruiters charging 5-figure fees or kind of, $10,000, $8,000, $5,000. We don't work like that. We obviously as a business have to make profit, but what we want to do is make it affordable. So normally the service starts from just $1,500. Okay, so depending on the role you're hiring from, it's just $1,500, and most SEO roles are either $1,500 or $2,000. Now we work really closely with Mads and the team at the SEO Mastery Summit, and so when people work with us, we've got a discount for you that I'll come to in just a little moment. Kind of forgotten that I did this slide in. Now 85% of our business comes from referrals, and that only happens because we do a really, really good job of what we do. And these are some of the comments. I'm not going to read them out. That's a bit much. These are some of the comments, what people say. I was able to let the experts handle it rather than me. It would take me hours, days, and weeks to sift through all the people that applied. Caliber of the candidates is consistently high, and the quality and experience that people get with us is absolutely unsurpassed. So we've got a special offer for you guys, and I'm not going to kind of dwell on this. I'm going to move on and get into Q&A. But for everyone that's kind of attended the session today or watches the replay, you can save $250 on your next hire with our Done With You service. If you want to learn more, just simply head to jobrack.eu/SEO. There's a ton of information there for you. Or if you want to book in a free call to chat about kind of hiring clarity, talk about the kind of roles you want, etc. No commitment. Just head to jobrack.eu/call, CALL, and you can book in some time with me, and we can chat through from there. And like I said, for everyone that's come through the SEO Mastery Summit, you get $250 off your next Done With You hire. So anything we can do to help, always love to kind of help you out no matter where you're looking to hire from. So jobrack.eu/SEO to learn more, or jobrack.eu/call to book in just a quick kind of 15-minute call, and we can have a chat from there. So Mads, got kind of a little bit of time for Q&A.
Yes, we have indeed, and we have had lots of questions throughout the session. I think some of them have actually been answered throughout your presentation, but we had Tom comment saying hello. Then we had someone asking what's the basic rates, and I think you covered that well in the presentation. Yeah. So if you didn't catch that, I recommend you go and read the replay.
Yeah. Very roughly, kind of entry levels will start at $5 an hour and upwards. If you're hiring for a link builder, kind of virtual assistant, customer support, things like that, typically from $5 or $6 an hour and upwards. Obviously, very kind of varies greatly depending on the skills and the roles you're looking at. So if you've got a particular role that you're looking at, then feel free to book in a call, and I can help you out from there.
Totally, fantastic. Is Belarus understood as Eastern Europe? I assume so.
I am 90%. It's in our list. Our list changes now and again, based on kind of when we get some feedback, things like that. But I'm pretty sure Belarus is in our list. Yeah, whether it's again, we have some countries that people say, is that really Eastern Europe? But there's a collection of countries that we include. I think it's about 24 countries in total, and Belarus is definitely on there. So yes.
Awesome. Then there's one they're asking here: what's the best country for developers, and do you hire those?
We do a lot with developers. I don't think there is any one best country. We focus our kind of probably 90% of our developer candidates right now are coming from Bosnia and Herzegovina, Albania, Serbia, Macedonia, Croatia, a little bit from Romania and Bulgaria. And the reason for that is primarily the balance of technical skills. There's some amazing developers all across Eastern Europe. But what we find is that kind of sweet spot around value to quality is especially in the kind of the Balkan region, especially. So we do a lot around, from junior WordPress developers right up to very, very senior React, Ruby on Rails are some of the roles that we're working on right now. And we can find pretty much any developers out there. They take some real work. So most developers are not hanging out on job boards waiting for your job post right now. But again, happy to chat about those.
Awesome. And I used to work for quite a while with lots of guys in Bulgaria. I worked for IBM corporately, and I'm one of these uneducated people in the world without much educational background. But many of these guys have multiple educations and so on. So my experience with Eastern Europe is that people are extremely well educated, right? And can definitely add a lot of value. So I enjoy working with Eastern Europeans myself. Okay, so someone asking, the more complicated application, the better, or what? The more complicated application, the better. So I guess he might mean application process.
Yeah, so I think a couple of bits on that. So one is there's a lot of employers and business owners that try and kind of have these like hidden questions and hidden kind of checks, etc. in the job post. Basically, you're checking for attention to detail, and that can be good. But the downside of it is, some job posts can go for 2 or even 3 or 4 pages, right? And asking them to, actually, what do you really want? Is people to kind of identify the important things, skills and experience, and that they're interested in you, and that they put the effort into the application. So I'm not a big fan of those kind of Easter egg type questions. I would much rather look for kind of longer form answers where you're asking them to, tell you about how they've solved a particular situation. How have they got an article to rank on page 1? How have they, met this particular challenge with a particular system, for instance? So really, I want to more see the evidence of their skills and how they've done them, rather than an Easter egg test around find the first letter of the third word on the second paragraph type thing. Not a big fan of that. In terms of kind of complex kind of application processes, really, it should be multi-stage. It's got to be right for the role that you're hiring for, and I would just make that clear in the job advert. But again, if there's anything particular, feel free to kind of get in touch.
Yeah. Then I have Annie here asking if I'm recruiting myself, any particular countries for particular skills in Eastern Europe?
I think it's pretty broad. I think so. The reason why I love Eastern Europe and why I bought a business focused on that is the blend of education, really great English language skills, the kind of cultural alignment with the Western world, which is where many business owners are our business owners and clients are based, and the work ethic. Right, the work ethic is just incredible. So not particularly. I think every now and again I hear people say great things about content writers from Macedonia. But yeah, I've got great content writers from Bosnia and Serbia as well. So I don't think it's that niche down. I think there's a very high standard of technical education all across Eastern Europe. So, as a region, I think that's enough of a niche down rather than needing to go to a particular country for particular skills.
Definitely. Okay, so in relation, do you guys ever hire from the Philippines? So I guess you primarily hire Eastern Europe, right?
Yeah, so our focus is Eastern Europe, but there's lots of other kind of sites out there that do. And again, there's great people from all over the world, and some people that might be the right.
Yep. So Keith is asking, what are the main job searching sites in Eastern Europe?
Well, Keith, obviously I'm going to recommend you to jobrack.eu. There are not many job sites that cover all of Eastern Europe. I think I'm one of the only ones, and I'm certainly one of the best known. I know that much. So, if you Google for kind of, Eastern European developers, for instance, kind of thing, or hiring from Eastern Europe, JobRack will generally appear reasonably high up. Not as high up as it should be. SEO is not my strength, ironically. So if anyone wants to help me with that, then feel free to get in touch. But certainly kind of jobrack.eu is, probably the kind of one of the very few platforms that I run that, is across all of Eastern Europe.
Cool.
So,
what's the rate for a full stack developer?
So it will vary, Francois. It depends on the level of person that you want. So a mid-level full stack developer is going to be around about 25 to 30 US dollars an hour, something like that, very, very roughly, depending on what you're looking for. Going up to, for a senior developer, going up to probably closer to like 45, around up to maybe $45 an hour. Just doing a quick check here. Yeah, at the high end. So probably, mid-level, 25 to 30, senior, probably $30 to $40 an hour. It can vary a little bit depending on the skills you're looking for and the level, but gives you a kind of a rough idea. Typically around 50% of what you'd be paying in the UK or USA/Canada.
Cool. Next one here, James is asking, how much is your service and is it possible to hire in Eastern Europe by yourself? I'm just starting out and haven't got a lot of capital yet. So I think Noel have already covered his cost specifically at the end. So this question was probably asked before that.
I think it's worth probably just touching, Matt. So for people that, are just starting out, if you have more time and energy than you have cash, then, that's where posting an ad on a job board like JobRack or any of the others, so JobRack's like $199. You can do it yourself if you've got that kind of time and energy.
Definitely. Yep. And good to see you here, Keith. That's awesome. So next question. If using your service, how long does it typically take to hire?
So we always suggest it's going to be about 4 to 6 weeks end to end. We intentionally slow it down up front to get a really good understanding of what it is you're looking for. And this should be the case with any hiring service and what you do. So that stage that I talked about, like step 1 and step 2, figuring out what you want, that's what we do kind of for you and with you. So typically around a week doing that, and then a search process and including interviews, including everything, typically around 4 to 6 weeks. Sometimes we do it quicker than that. Sometimes it's a tiny bit longer. You know, it's like dating, right? You're trying to find the right people for you effectively, and we're trying to do that for you. But around 4 to 6 weeks is about right.
Cool. Sounds good. $5 an hour sounds a bit low, isn't it? I know it depends on the market, but in some countries it might be under minimum wage.
Yeah, definitely. So not for Eastern Europe, definitely not. So we would never take a role that was under minimum wage. We'd never really take roles that were anything close to minimum wage. So a lot of the countries in Eastern Europe, the minimum wage is closer to like kind of $300 a month for full time, which is like absurdly low, and that is not a living wage. So we actually push our clients. So we want to be considerably above that. We want it to be, what's known here in the UK as a fair living wage. That's really, really important to us. You know, we do not want to be, frankly, I don't want to be working with business owners that are looking to exploit people, that are coming just for the cost. That's definitely not it. So no, completely agree. It can often seem low, but the cost of living is significantly lower out there, in some of these countries. So it does make a big difference. And it makes another big difference whether they're in a capital city or in a secondary or tertiary city as well.
Excellent. David is asking, what are red flags you look for to disqualify job applicants?
It's a good question. So if we see someone that's really not put much effort into the application, so single word, one word answers, that's their red flags for me. If we have some yes, no questions that if they answer no to, they will normally get disqualified. So if when we ask them, do they have a laptop of a particular specification to do a role? If they answer no, we'll normally disregard them. Every now and again, we'll get someone that says, I've got a laptop provided by my current employer, I'll buy a new laptop. Maybe in those circumstances, but generally, if they're saying they haven't got a laptop, they're going to buy it, they're not going to be the right people to work remotely, because the kind of people that are tech savvy, etc., I would expect to have a computer already that they're working on. Typically, we will include some test questions specific to the role. So as an example, if someone was going to be doing social media posting, right, then we would look and say, hey, give us an example of a social media post that you might post on a Monday morning for our audience. And we're expecting that they've gone out and Googled the employer and kind of written a post and done an image, things like that. So we're looking for effort really is probably the number one thing. And then, going from there. But short one-word answers, that's the biggest red flag.
Okay, that makes sense. The next one here, what is the per day rate for engineering professionals in Eastern Europe? So
it varies a lot depending on the skill set, depending on the seniority, etc. So, it depends whether it's a junior WordPress developer that might be, $10 to $15 an hour, or a very senior full stack developer that might be $45 to $50 an hour. So it can vary a lot.
So, a lot of thank yous. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, and it's good. Obviously, me and Noel both have lots of good experience interviewing people and so on, and we know how hard it is. So definitely a lot of the time, one of the biggest things I see for many business owners is they really shortcut the process. They just try and get it done really quickly, right? And for me, at least, that's one of the last things you want to do. Like, the cost of a bad hire, particularly in a small business, is so expensive, because often you only have the money to actually hire one person. And if that person does not work out, right, like the pain and the suffering you go through, often if they don't work out, it also takes a long time to fire them and get started all over and so on. So I literally seen small businesses break the neck just because they end up spending so much time and energy on a not good hire. And I really recommend putting significant time and effort into recruitment. Obviously, using someone like Noel for his services is fantastic. But again, even onboarding people and making sure there's clear expectation, making sure people have an easy environment to get into when they just start is just really so important from my experience, right? And it's one of those things that it's easy to skip. It's easy to say I'm busy. But if you really want to succeed, you really want to make sure that you prepare things up front, right? And I see so often people that are hiring a new employee, and the first couple of days they're just sitting not doing much because there's nothing ready for them and so on. And that's like most people on the planet, when they get a new job, they're super excited. They want to get going. They want to do things. And if they come into a company and the boss or the manager is like, oh, I don't have something for you right now, I'll figure it out in the next few days. Like they don't feel good, right? And often they get basically used to sort of slowing down and really not, getting into a good rhythm from day one. So I always recommend you to really invest in people and invest the time to succeed in the beginning. So definitely. One more from Ariane. So I don't know what country this is specifically for, but basically saying I'm looking specifically for a developer who is excellent at Javi, Javi. I don't know what that is. How much are they to hire full time? I've never heard of Javi. I recommend.
I haven't. Get in touch.
Like that, just I recommend if you contact Noel. I think Noel, maybe if you want to just put up your slide again with the contact details.
No worries.
Just so that we can share it with everyone again, right? So again, if you do have some questions, really reach out to Noel. He is super helpful, and both him and his team. So wherever you want to set up a call or just go straight to the SEO offer, right? Again, remember that because you're watching this through the SEO Mastery Summit, you actually get a $250 discount on your next hire, right? So again, highly recommended, and check it out. So excellent. Thanks for your valuable information. So more things coming in here. Excellent video. And just checking here if there's any missed questions. How productive are people in Eastern Europe?
Very. I think that from a work ethic perspective, so it's something that brings people to hire from Eastern Europe again and again and again. That with the kind of direct communication style, but extremely. They generally want to commit. They want to do a really good job, and they're looking for kind of long-term stability and commitment. So that lends itself to very, very high productivity. Like anyone, right? They're all faced with the same afflictions and distractions than we are, courtesy of smartphones and attention-grabbing apps, etc. So one of the things we do with the JobRack team is we often are talking about productivity tips and kind of hacks and ways of working, etc. So they're not immune by any means, but generally kind of culturally they expect to work hard and they want to work hard and they really, really want to do a good job. So they're set up for success from the start in that way.
Excellent. Thanks again, everyone, for following us all the way to the end. Thank you for all your great questions. And again, just a last shout out. So if you do want to hire an SEO person, go to jobrack.eu/SEO, or you can book a free call with Noel and his team at jobrack.eu/call. So thank you, Noel. Thank you very much for sharing all of your wisdom with us today. And thank you very much for contributing again.
No worries, Mads. Thanks very much. And thanks everyone for coming.